Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you very much, Congresswoman Norton, the distinguished representative of the District of Columbia. She represents me whenever I am not at home and has done an exceptional job, and I thank you for sponsoring today's short order. Mr. Speaker, just imagine returning home to the United States after many months of life-threatening combat. Imagine the relief you feel to be safe and the joyfulness of the welcome you expect to receive. Then imagine as you enter that welcoming ceremony, you see displayed the flags of every state, but the flag of your own home is missing. This is the sad experience for some 36,000 service men and women whose home is the District of Columbia or one of the United States territories of American Samoa, Guam, Puerto Rico, the United States Virgin Islands, and my own district, the Northern Mariana Islands. The flags of our home jurisdictions are often missing from the flag displays at military installations during welcome back ceremonies, deployment ceremonies, and graduations. A constituent alerted me to this problem about 2 years ago. This individual had noticed the absence of the Northern Marianas flag from a display of U.S. state flag and territorial flags at Fort Drum, New York. She reported how troubling it was to her as a member of our armed services from the Northern Marianas, returning from combat duty, looking up to see her own flag missing from the ranks of flags there at Fort Drum. Let me read what she said. It's been 9 months, still no CNMI flag displayed at Fort Drum, New York military base. No CNMI flag displayed at a field where deployment ceremony being held, and no CNMI flag displayed where welcoming ceremony being held, welcoming back soldiers from deployment. I wonder what's going on to our CNMI elected leaders. There are Micronesian and Guam flags, no CNMI flag, very sad. I remember coming back from the first Gulf War and seeing the rest of my unit being greeted by family and friends. As a single soldier back then, I did not have family waiting for my return. However, the Guamanian family that I frequented while in Fort Lewis was there to greet me with hawks, marmars, and lays. What made them stand out and is forever etched in my mind is our CNMI flag being wielded by these friends of mine. The pride of seeing our flag waving at that concourse was overwhelming and gave me, an NMI native, the sense of belonging to the United States. As a veteran, and more so as a proud NMI Chamalinan, I hope the lack of representation in Fort Drum is corrected. This was not an isolated incident. Last year, I visited a soldier who was receiving treatment at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Bethesda. A grand display of the 50 states, the flags of the 50 states lined the lobby of the main facility. Unfortunately, the flag of that young soldier who was lying upstairs in a bed, painfully recovering from his wounds, was missing from the grand display downstairs. None of the territory flags, nor the flag of the District of Columbia, were present at Walter Reed. I also received a report of the same situation at Fort Jackson in South Carolina. A family there to see their nephew graduate from basic training saw the flags of all 50 states and every territory on display, all except the flag of the Northern Marianas. Let me read what they said in that email. Congressman Kilili, my nephew graduated from basic training in Fort Jackson, South Carolina yesterday. My niece and my daughter-in-law were looking for the CNMI flag to take picture with the graduate. Since they could not find the CNMI flag, so they had to settle with the Guam flag to have their picture taken. Please look into this, why the CNMI flag was not displayed during basic training graduation. On another occasion, several of my constituents attended a basic combat training graduation at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. The venue where the ceremony took place was adorned with flags from all 50 states and every territory, except the Northern Mariana Islands. Those soldiers shared their deep disappointment with me. They felt their command and their country did not recognize their contributions or their home. Another constituent informed me that the Northern Marianas flag was not flying with the state flags at the Marine Corps recruit depot in San Diego, where her husband worked. Here's what she wrote. Good morning, sir. I happened to stumble upon an article regarding our flag being raised in all U.S. Army installations during ceremonies. Well, my husband works on the Marine Corps recruit depot in San Diego, and I am tired of him complaining about not seeing our flag during graduations here. Could you please extend this to other armed services as well? Thank you. Respectfully sent, Julie S. Tebutep. Over 20,000 Marine recruits pass through there every year. So not only are our own soldiers feeling forgotten, but recruits from other areas are being sent a message that the District of Columbia and the 5 U.S. territories are not really a part of the nation those Marines will be defending. Of course, I brought all these cases to the attention of the Pentagon. The Secretary of the Army responded with an assurance that our flag would be flown at Army installations whenever the flags of the states are on display. And many of the individual installations I mentioned took corrective action when I contacted them. But despite this response, I continue to receive reports of situations where territorial flags are forgotten. See, the problem is there is no uniform regulation governing the inclusion of the flags of the District of Columbia and the territories. Though the Army Secretary acted, it is the policy of the Air Force, the Coast Guard, the Marines, and the Navy to let local commanders have the discretion to display state flags with or without the flags of the territories on their installations. I have requested that all the services modify their regulations to include our flags, but no action has been taken. And I believe it should not be at the discretion of individual base commanders to decide to exclude any part of the United States or the fighting men and women from any part of the United States from recognition. It is a point of pride for our brave members of our armed services from the District of Columbia or the Northern Mariana Islands or any of the U.S. territories to see their home flag on display. That flag confirms that their sacrifices and the risks these men and women take are recognized and appreciated. That flag demonstrates that their territory is a part of this great nation of ours. That's why I included a provision in this year's National Defense Authorization Act requiring the flag of all the states of all U.S. territories and the District of Columbia whenever and wherever the official flags of all 50 states are flown on U.S. military installations. That's why we're here this afternoon, speaking on behalf of those 36,000 service members from our districts who are asking the other body, Senate, to include the same provision in their bill. This provision ensures recognition for all our country service members, no matter what part of the United States they call home. I just celebrated Veterans Day in the Northern Mariana Islands at the American Memorial Park. There is in this park a court of honor for those soldiers who died there during World War II. And guess what, Mr. Speaker? All the flags, the territories, and the 50 states were displayed there in recognition of our great nation, the United States of America. Not one state was left out. Not one territory was left out. They're all displayed there. So let us all spare our soldiers, Marines, sailors, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, and our veterans the disappointment of not seeing their flags together with the flags of the U.S. states whenever they fly. And I thank you for sharing your time with me. Congresswoman Norton, thank you for your leadership and for taking a leading position on this issue. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.